Okay, welcome back to the Jiu Jitsu Mindset. My name's Pete Deely. The divine smiles on me every week, bringing me people to talk to that it's unexpected. I get a chance to speak to people I don't deserve to speak to in some senses, and
Hi.
today's no different. I will remind you that submission coffee remains not classified as a performance enhancing drug, so you're welcome to go to the jujitsu mindset.com. Professor Chris Haueter, thank you for spending time with me today. I'm so grateful you're
No
here.
worries. It's interesting because just before we went on recording on live, you mentioned mailing me a shirt, right?
Sure.
So I literally had 8 boxes, probably somewhere between 50 and 100 shirts per box of shirts that I've collected over the last 35 years of, and because like I had space to put them, I had so many shirts, and so I've given most of them away to the garage, and I've kept one box of, like, I have the first Mundials, the first Pans. I've got some pretty cool shirts, some
No
bunch of
doubt.
really old, wherever I've gone and taught, people would
Right.
give me a shirt. And God, I must have had 3 boxes of rash guards. Um and I also reflect on a period of time. So until I was like a one stripe black belt, jiu-jitsu gis, the actual like Brazilian jiu-jitsu gi, not a judo lightweight judo gi, but a
Right.
jiu-jitsu gi, were hard to get.
Okay.
And now they're easy to get.
Right.
They're all over. You go on Amazon and can buy 3 for $80, right? I mean, and if yeah, it's like I can remember a time at the Machado Academy when I, I was a new brown belt at the time, and you'd show up at the academy and there'd be 4 sleeping bags of Brazilian guys that just came up, and
Right.
the class would start, they'd put their bags away. One of them would grab a giant bag and dump it, and it would be like Krugen's geese or Tama's.
Okay.
And it was like a shark frenzy, like looking for your size. You didn't even care if it kind of fit. It's like, just
Yeah. Yeah.
let
Just
me
get one.
get a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gi, right? Yeah.
Well, if I send you this T-shirt and it gets discarded with the other boxes of the 3 boxes, just don't tell me. Okay. Just let me think it made the cut. So
All right.
uh, I don't need to know if it.
I mean, I actually had a dream at one point in time that I'm going to have some giant art show
Right.
in New York or London, right?
Very good.
And I would have one giant wall where I would just pin up all the shirts.
There's got to be a multi-media project in there that's
I would just put up all the shirts on the wall, all the
nice.
jiu-jitsu shirts, all the jiu-jitsu patches, all that stuff. And obviously my garage kind of became a thing where I would just
Right.
stick things up. Yeah, if I had a billionaire benefactor,
Right.
he has no many. They have no idea how many cool ideas I actually have.
I've no
I'm the
doubt.
ideas guy, as Larry David
Right.
has
Right.
said. I'm the ideas guy. I should have Elon Musk's wealth because I'm the guy who would do. I would. Yeah. Oh
You're
God.
not dead yet. You're not dead yet, Professor. Who knows what
The
benefactor could be?
dreams I would have. I was telling somebody yesterday that if I were to open up my dream
Yeah,
academy,
tell me about that.
which has basically existed in my mind for the last 40 years,
Okay.
it is a giant, tall building.
Okay.
All the walls, or the 3 of them, are
Right.
rock climbing walls.
Okay.
Rock climbing walls, inversion, all that.
Nice.
There's obstacle course areas around the mat.
Okay.
Long before this trend came of making the walls, like I dreamed of grappling in, as I grew up skateboarding in pools,
Right.
you would basically have the mat would be a pool, a matted pool,
Oh,
where you can't run off the mat and it curves. And that was my whole view of like how the competition ought to be done. When I would referee, long before Metamorphosis or any of that, I thought the ref ought to be wearing a body cam, a
very good.
chest cam.
Mm-hmm.
You need an overhead cam.
Uh-huh.
You need a runner running around and cameraing. And then as a ref, I would have a lipstick cam
Very
on my
good.
ear here. And you would have multiple angles. And I would have in the garage pop-up matches.
Okay.
Surprise fights, no one knows who. In the garage, I'm the ref.
Okay.
I knew where I'd fucking stick all the cameras and all that. And no one would know which of the three rule the sets it would be until literally we both join the competitors on the mat.
Okay.
We roll the dice or we Rochambeau, and we're going to do this rule set
Okay.
for round one, and then maybe round two. Like, I had all kinds of ideas, but
Well,
anyway,
I'm
I'm
very
an idea
confident.
guy.
There's many billionaires who listen to this podcast. I have no doubt, Professor. So for you
Oh God,
guys,
I hope.
contact Professor Chris Haueter. Let's get some of these things out into the world, for crying out
I
loud.
I hope,
I hope.
because yeah, and yeah. God.
All right. So if you'd mentioned, for 40 years, you've been thinking about things. Obviously, your relationship to jiu-jitsu goes back in a large portion of your life. So
Yeah.
if we take that out and all that energy that got poured into jiu-jitsu, like who are you how are you different, and how's your life different if you're doing something else than spending all that time and energy in
It's
jiu-jitsu?
kind of one of those things. It's human nature, especially if you have a big creative ADHD ego
Mhm.
like mine, to have regrets.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not even regret, it's curiosity, what my life would have been like had
Yeah.
I done blank, right? Or had I not done blank, right?
Right.
And like, I can picture a time where I'm a new black belt, I'm young, um, I I want to compete. I still need my coaches, mentors, and peers. I need that room of competitive peers.
Right.
And I find myself over in Spain.
Okay.
And I would have, and there's a Jeet Kune Do kickboxing school, and they're basically begging me to take it over,
Okay.
to move there.
Wow.
And I'm out. I would go out at night. I love the Spanish culture, the siesta. I'm out, um, salsa dancing until the sun comes up.
Now you're talking.
And so, do I regret that I did not move to Spain? No, because who knows what would have happened, right?
That's right.
Like, I could think of all kinds of things that I used to say all the time in my late 20s that I wish I had two of me.
Yes.
One who could go do this thing that I
Yes. Yeah.
really want to do, and one who could go do this thing. And then, of course, when you like meditate on it, the philosophy of it and all that, and you realize that is actually anxiety causing, and the angst and all that.
Sure.
And boy, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I like anxiety and angst. Why
Right. Right.
do I like anxiety and angst? And I thought many times, and it's but true, that probably the closest to what spiritual monks would call being in the zone, nirvana, meditation, all
Sure.
that,
Sure.
I find when I'm having that good roll. where
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
rolling, and my philosophy of thirds to escape the binary trap
Very
and
good.
all that. When you're in that zone, a third of you is completely in the now.
Right.
Third of you.
Okay.
A third of you is so detached from what's happening in a healthy way
Right.
that you could be in a contemplative meditative state. That same thing when you're running and get all these
Sure.
creative ideas as you run, or when you swim and all that, right? And then the third is just a little in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, in order to maintain that balance, you got to be a tinge in the past.
Interesting.
And and then you're bouncing that off that third that's right in the moment.
Right.
And then you can and anticipate the game and start to see that it's really just patterns.
Yes.
It's and what you're perfecting are all these patterns.
Hmm.
And just that flow, that communication with the opponent that you're in is a very blissful state.
I,
And if there's anything about the jujitsu on a personal level, boy, the dog really farted. Um, that's like the thing that I love about the jujitsu,
I
right?
think that's when people come to the mats and get addicted quickly, I think that's what they're getting addicted to. It's hard to achieve what you just described. Like if you're going to sit and meditate, what that is a very difficult thing to accomplish there. I don't know if there are many other activities that offer that psychological state you just described with easy accessibility. Like you
Yeah,
can not know what you're doing, but still experience perhaps not the in the future in the past thing, because I think it's hard to know where your body is in
yeah.
space for a long time in jiu-jitsu, at least it is for me. Um,
Well, the thing about combat sports, and I would even include things like surfing really big
yeah,
waves,
yeah, yeah.
lead climbing and rock
Hmm.
climbing, anything where the uh, um, consequences are deadly.
Right, right.
And when we do with jujitsu, we we intellectually know that the consequences aren't,
Right.
but that primal biology
Yes.
says the consequences of the loss means death.
Right, right,
And some people say, "Oh, I don't even think about that." Like I always have my whole think street train sport
right.
practice
Practice art.
to
Yeah.
start. I like having that, what I call the honesty part, that
Yes.
keeps the whole thing fucking honest,
Right.
is remembering that we're training for life and death. It's kind of like rock climbing. You're on rope, you have uh, a protection. It's better to pretend you don't have that shit.
Right, right,
And that if you fall, you die.
right,
Because then it brings you in the now and it becomes more fun. But then you also get that growth of, you have to learn how to not overexpend energy because of fear.
right.
So you have to address the fear
Yes.
rather than go, oh, it's only a sport, I'm just going to ignore the fear.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the things I was curious about. I mean, that intellectual framework that you offer in terms of, think street, practice sport, or train sport, practice art. I think, unlike other things, I think about how I learned to play soccer or learn to play basketball or something like that. Put the ball in front of me and the rules were clear, and I
Yep.
never thought of it as anything other than soccer or
Yep.
basketball, whatever. But jujitsu is something other than just what's going on mechanically. I mean, there seems like
Yeah.
there are other things that you're learning, absorbing, and it sounds to me that you think that way as well. I mean, I think inoculating yourself in the land of fear, I mean, it's good for us, I think, to be pressed up against some boundaries to know what we're capable of. And I
Yeah.
think jujitsu is, if not unique, is special in its ability to do what you're talking about. Give your nervous system something to train against while not actually having to stick your head in the mouth of a tiger type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like I love all athletics and I love all arts, but when I think of the combat sports,
Right?
like boxing,
Yes.
boxing is like wrestling. They're both very primal
Yes.
combat sports, and boxing is the simplest of all the combat sports.
Hmm.
But it'll take you a lifetime to even get close to mastery of it.
Right. Right. Right.
It's jab, cross, hook, slip, bob, weave, footwork, and then you spend the rest of your life learning how to box.
Right.
Wrestling is the art of be the guy on motherfucking top, no matter
Hmm.
back arching motherfucking what. It's a very simple game. You don't have to learn complex rules or anything like that. Just go out and be the guy on top.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
No matter what you got to do to twist your body, do not let your back hit the mat.
Right.
And that's an awesome art too. But clearly, boxing, wrestling favor youth and athletics and
Without
a
a
lot
doubt.
of natural talent in there. You got with judo and Greco, which
Hmm.
are to cloth and no cloth, the art of the upright throw.
Right.
It's they are clinch arts.
Right.
And the jujitsu is kind of this thing where really,
Yeah.
from
Nice.
my perspective, especially in the sport,
Right.
and in the purity of just the art,
Hmm.
is it boils down to it's probably anywhere from 50 to 65% about the guard. Having
Hmm.
guard and passing guard.
Okay.
That's the art.
Right.
The mount, the back attack. If your guard is good, your back attack is good. If your guard is good, your mount is good.
Right.
All that other shit comes out in the wash
Right.
if you have a guard and can pass guard.
Right.
That's the meat of the jujitsu,
Right.
and that's its uniqueness.
Is that the? I mean, when I'm listening to you talk about boxing, I think about being a kid as I box as a young person, and when I was in a gym where a bunch of professional boxers would come through and train for a portion of time. It
Yeah,
was such a great experience to see what it was like to have somebody hit the bag who was a professional, and then the rest of us. Like it
yeah,
was that bag did not sound or move the same when a professional hit that bag. Like Thomas Hearns came through, I mean, I remember being a little kid hitting the bag next to him. It was
yeah. God.
extraordinary. But in many ways,
Hitman Hearns.
Hitman Hearns, right? The Detroit City Cobra, is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, but when you talk about it as a simplest, I reflect on that notion that like, well, it took thousands and thousands of punches to get like that. And
yeah.
when you move towards talking about, jujitsu in the guard, for me it feels so much more subtle than a punch, and so it feels like it takes even longer, in my opinion, to.
Well, it's what it is more complex,
Right, right.
right? And then like all the of these arts, when you get into the esoteric mastery of them, you realize that all of them are both simple and complex
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah, yeah.
Simultaneously, you are looking to make it as simple as you can
Right,
while recognizing the vast complexity of just a jab,
right.
just
Yes,
an
yes, yes, yeah,
armbar.
yeah.
And that's like I was saying, we can all draw a face.
Right,
You draw a circle, you put two dots and a mouth, but not everybody's Rembrandt
right, right, right,
and or a cartoonist
right.
who can capture the essence of a person and accentuate those and create a cartoonish
Right.
representation, right? All of these are unique talents
Hmm.
that take natural talent,
Right.
but they take a ton of practice, right? And then there's it's that whole thing, like everything, especially when we're young, we think it's all us, and then you realize it requires a community. And
Yes.
like
Yes.
in COVID is when it really hit me. So Abraham Lincoln was a phenomenal catch wrestler.
Right.
And why didn't catch grow? Back the Greek and the Romans.
Sure.
Why
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
I'm sure all the ways to lock a human up and make him sub have been already figured out.
Right.
But number one, it happened before mass media,
Hmm.
before cameras, YouTube,
Right.
before even books,
Right.
before the Gutenberg press,
Right.
half of this. And then the big one is plagues. Because when a plague would ravage through,
Right.
if you read Marcus Aurelius,
Hmm.
when they're, all of a sudden a plague for 5 years comes through. He loses kids.
Right.
Things are wiped out. No
Yeah.
one's grappling. Nobody's passing on combat sport arts.
Right.
They die in a generation. And I remember like thinking in COVID, God, if this lasts, could the jiu-jitsu die?
Mm.
Or would YouTube solve it?
Yes. Yes.
At that time, just before, I'd been meeting with Hickson,
Hmm.
and it was all about, an armbar is just an armbar, but at the same time, there's the invisible part that you
Right.
don't get through a screen. And here we are in COVID, and I'm like thinking, God, I could see how I'm sure Abraham Lincoln and those guys had great arm bars,
Right.
but you had smallpox, you had polio,
Sure.
you had the Spanish flu, you had periods of time where high school, the, the PE completely shut down for years.
Right.
So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
My wife's a naturopathic physician, and like when I listen to her sometimes talk about uh information had its day and then it was suppressed. I mean, when it comes
Yeah,
to medicines and therapies, there were we've known many things over thousands of years, and some of those things survived, some of those things didn't. Some of the
yeah,
things appeared to have been choked off and went away, and then it turns out that somebody somewhere knew about that medicine. Yeah, it's a fascinating. I mean, I think in all, particularly in arts, you have no idea what's gone on for the last 10,000 years. It's too broad of a
yeah.
landscape to think about. In the community, when you talk about like needing us together and to certainly, I'm curious, like when we talk about competition, does that experience the coming together to test or to compete for not the world's great champions, but an ordinary person like myself going, do you think it's valuable or do you think it's
Well,
not?
I think like if we're going to use martial arts, the combat sports as call it a spiritual growth tool.
Yes.
Um, One school of thought, which I largely prescribe to, is you're trying to resolve your personal issues of fear,
Yes.
right? And what scares people about competing? Why do people, or even if they claim, "Oh, I'm not afraid. I just don't have the time. I just don't like." What is it about us humans that gets nervous before we compete? And why do we get nervous at the formal competition where there's people all
Right.
over and other things, but we're not nervous in our home gym,
Sure.
and we're a teensy bit nervous in the school across town's open mat. Like all these are things like what makes us nervous and what makes us not nervous.
Right. Yeah, the
And the one,
publicness of it, right? I mean,
yeah, and the one thing I definitely know from high school wrestling is the first match of the first season, you're terrified.
right, right,
But you do it every week for 9 weeks, and in the end, it's just wrestling.
right,
And you're like, you're not scared anymore.
right.
It's the same with rock climbing. When you do it all the time, the fear's gone.
Yes, right, right.
Skydiving, you do it all the time, the
Yes.
fear's gone. But you wait 5 years and then go, I'm going to go skydiving again. Suddenly, you're fucking afraid again.
Sure.
So there's clearly some thing in our biology that says this is fucking dangerous.
Right. Yes.
This person's going to try to choke me or break
Yeah.
my arm.
Mm-hmm.
If that ref doesn't stop it and
Right.
I lose, I could get my arm broken. Like there are realistic things, right?
For sure.
But I really believe in combat sports, the fear is looking bad,
Yeah. Yes.
especially upper belts.
Sure.
Because no one wants to get their ass kicked in public.
And it's not irrational.
But that's pure ego.
I agree.
Because
100%.
most people aren't even fucking paying attention. And if they
Yes.
are, if they really are all watching your match, it means you're probably in the top 5 in the world. So
Yeah, exactly.
who cares if you do lose? You're
Right.
still in the top 5. Maybe
Yes.
now you're the top 6.
Yes,
But
yes.
like intellectually, it's all absurd. It's all absurd.
Yeah, and I found jiu-jitsu late. I was 50 when I started, 5.5 years ago. And when, you know, I think about the different things I've done in my life, and then I think about showing up at a high school gym on a Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and how nervous I am to go step onto this. It's something that I, there's no consequence, practically speaking, to winning or losing. That my life
None.
changes zero,
Yep.
right?
It's going to
And
change your life 0.
but my professor's there. I want to represent,
Yep.
myself as a student properly. All those, and the reason why I always encourage my teammates around me to do it is exactly what you're saying. Like it's a good false danger.
It's a good little personal growth tool.
I
And I
yeah,
try to encourage everybody to at least once do it.
right. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Yeah.
Like if I had rules, it would be at least once a belt.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, compete it. Like white belt, I don't fucking care because I'm so old school. I don't think white belts should fucking compete.
right, right,
When you're ready to compete, you're a blue belt.
right, right.
You're not a white belt.
Yeah,
And if you're some phenom wrestler, judo, black belt, new to jiu-jitsu, I'm sorry, you're not a white belt.
right, right.
You're a fucking blue belt for sure.
At least,
Maybe even in a month or two, purple belt.
right,
So go ahead and compete at purple belt. Like that's how it ought to be based. Because in the end, the only thing that fucking matters is black belt.
right.
If it's ever an Olympic sport, the only belt that matters is black belt. Everything else is just practice.
Yes,
It's
sir.
all practice. And so like as a blue belt or a purple belt, which no one told me back then, and the comps began in the States when I was a purple belt.
Right.
And I competed. And it was fun. But no one told me this is just practice. I wish they would have. Because I thought like, oh shit, I better win the purple belt part of this. Like that, it's like,
Yeah.
go have fun,
Right.
and you'll do better if you're there to have fun.
Right. Right.
You won't exhaust yourself
Yes.
if you're there to have fun.
Right.
When you're there to win, just like in a club roll,
Right.
the most annoying guys on the mat who are the ones who are acting like every match is a competition roll.
Right. Right. Right.
And also, I believe that in the long run, you do that all the time. It will slow your growth down.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Because learning is risk. And you have to address the areas where you're weak, and
Hmm.
will lose the role in order to improve it. And if you're worried always about winning, you'll spin your wheels for months or years.
When I look at myself as a student, one of the things that is like an irritating quality is that I, I quickly gravitate to anything that might have worked previously, as opposed to like, I'm only grooving in anything that previously had any twinge of success, and to slow everything down and to enjoy sort of, okay, how does this actually work, is one of my failings as a student. And it's my impatience and maybe even my embarrassment. Like, I'm trying to be a good
Yeah.
partner, particularly me. I'm among the oldest people, where I roll. I'm not light years away from being strong and quick and fast or skilled. So it's like I'm
The
I'm a
age
triple
isn't
to,
bad, it's the injury that comes with age.
and that's, yeah, I
My
was
wife
listening.
just
Yeah.
walked in here. Let me introduce. So, yeah, my wife
Peter.
Hello, Melissa.
recently
Hi, Peter and listeners.
had a hip replacement, and she's like bouncing back.
Oh,
My
girl.
wife is a good role model on how to rehab the right way,
Chris
Okay.
isn't.
and how to
So
like.
if you're having on something called role models, bad idea.
Okay. All right.
Is that what
Oh,
this is called? Role models?
I like that. There should be a podcast called Role Models. I
What's your
like that.
podcast called?
The Jiu Jitsu mindset, but I
Oh,
don't know. I might have to
mindset. Mindset. Okay, mindset. That's
might have to
good.
change it though. Well, when
So
I
role
go and
models.
get my shoulders replaced, I'll come and talk to you, because
How about this?
this is what it means for me.
I'll call my podcast role models.
I like
That's
it.
a good one.
That is a good one. Do that.
That's funny.
It is. And but yeah, like my wife is like, when we were speaking earlier about like circumstances of life and
Sure.
injury and all that. Um, my wife was like my coulda, shoulda, woulda, could have been the world champion, but knee injury, then come back, have a fight, then pregnancy, then knee injury, then pregnancy, then knee injury. And
Yeah.
that coming in and off of the mat and watching her rehab and build back up, to only have an injury happen again or
Yeah.
pregnancy
Yeah.
happen again. But then the resilience through it is she just had a hip replacement and is back on the mat. That's that. It's not who's good, it's who's left, right? Like, how do you
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
should we be left? I ask myself that all the time. Like, should I be on the mat still? I don't know, right?
And before I go, I
Yes.
just want to say that we have a website called combatbase.com, and I would
Yes.
like to encourage all of your listeners to visit combatbase.com, where you can see all the different things that we have to offer. In particular, we have a big camp coming up in
That's right.
August 21 through 23.
It's going to be a fun camp.
There's lots of Chris Haueter seminars this spring and moving in towards summer. And we have new merchandise coming out. We have the Combat Base Club, where you can sign up to watch our videos and interact with us in a monthly question and answer session. So we have a lot of different things that we're offering. And I'm the CEO. So
All
there
right.
you go.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you for all of that. I appreciate that. That's perfect. We will make
Yeah.
sure that the word gets out. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much, Peter.
Okay. Take care now.
Yeah, here's this art here. That's another one of my favorite pieces. That's called Room for One More.
That's right. I remember seeing that in one of your Instagram posts. And this may lead into a graphic novel someday. Is that what's the deal?
Well, see, I happen to think that I'm a genius.
Excellent.
That's part of my problem. But so back in 2009, I had this envision of this graphic novel.
Okay.
And basically, it's a post-apocalyptic renaissance.
Okay.
And this is before COVID, before MAGA, before any of this.
Okay.
And it was about how AI had kind of gone haywire, because I was back worried about AI then,
Okay.
and launched a limited nuke exchange that fucked up a lot of the world.
Okay.
And people were basically coming out of the ground, and it was about a young guy rediscovering Jiu Jitsu.
Oh, how
So
about
that's
that?
the Jiu Jitsu part.
I love it.
And then there's a whole part where an uber wealthy guy ends up, he gets a job hired as a guard, and then they find his blood type and the genotype, and basically it's an old guy who's chasing youth
Okay.
who wants to steal his body while he's a purple belt.
Okay.
And as metaphors and things about jiu-jitsu, and I can picture, and of course over the years the story's slightly changed,
Sure.
or I've gone, or I'll think, fuck, I was looking in a crystal ball, I saw that come. But I'm not with the only, the thing about good artists and
Right.
authors is they both recognize the patterns and trends, and they both become part of the patterns
Yes.
and the
Yes.
trends,
Nicely said.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to what you're talking about, I think about we have James Cameron and the Skynet and all of the Terminator visions of the
Yeah.
future. And then we
Yeah.
had Gene Roddenberry, in the Star Trek vision of the future. And
Totally.
we're at an interesting crossroads where are we going to get the Terminator, or are we going to get the Prime Directive in Star
Right.
Trek? I mean, who knows? But
Art imitates life. Life imitates art. Right.
science fiction in particular, right? How many
Yeah.
things were envisioned by an author, then it was brought
Yeah.
into life by an engineer down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, like, God, I'm a huge Isaac Asimov fan,
Yeah,
and I'm a Carl Sagan fan, Neil deGrasse Tyson fan.
all the greats. Yeah,
Um, I always had reservations about Elon Musk. I'll tell you, like, even back when everybody thought he's Tony Stark, I would say, I don't know. The three main engineers that engineered this have already left the company, because every time he walks in, he fucks the code up, and then they have to fix it. Like, I kind of had that whole. I think a lot of the people that we see in the tech industry,
okay,
and I'm not saying they aren't smart,
right,
because they clearly are smart.
yes,
But we throw the word genius around
right,
just because a person becomes financially wealthy,
right,
even if they're born that way.
right,
We
right.
tend to, and that comes down to, like, I'm an amateur anthropologist,
Mm-hmm.
and I really think there's the Pinker model about humans and culture, how we over each generation we get less and less violent, more civilized, more empathetic, and there's good argument on that, have to. And
Right.
then the John Gray model, that really, we really are just apes
Mm-hmm.
with language, guns, and fucking computers in it. We still are these primal animals, and there's
Right,
good argument on that as well.
for sure.
That's the hunger of jiu-jitsu. That's a primal thing. It's
Yes,
a
yes,
primal drive.
right.
It's like, and in tribes of 30 to 100 humans who are hunting and gathering, that biology works very well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we can remember the heavyweight champion of the world,
Right,
and why we envy the guy who can run hurdles,
right, right,
or the mile, break the 4-minute mile. Because, I mean, that guy's on your hunting team or your
right. Yeah,
war
yeah,
party,
exactly.
you have a better chance of winning.
Right,
And we look to the leader who's going to say, guys, organize up. I guarantee over that hill there's tons of antelope, and I know we're all hungry and we will all eat like kings for a month.
Right.
Rather than the guy who's a pragmatist. You know, maybe over the hill there's a couple buffalo, but if we walk further this way, we'll avoid this
Right.
tribe over here. No one listens to that fucking guy. And even though his way is actually better, only the intellectual eggheads are listening to that fucking guy.
Right.
So fast forward now 100,000 years, the guy that cures polio, no one remembers him, but they remember the idiot who won the dance contest last week on TV.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Although just for the record, Jonas Salk. Okay. Like some of
Yes,
us
it's
remember.
Jonas Salk. Yep.
just some of us are mindful of that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, without a doubt, I mean, there's always a tendency to want to identify, like, why are we fans of anything, you know, to identify with the winners.
And I am too.
No, I think it's right. It's all of us. Well, let me go back a little bit. We talked about the role of competition. You got such a extraordinary, extensive catalog of roles and fights in your head. If I just ask like your lizard brain, like, hey, what's the most memorable? What if without thinking about it, what do you have something that just pops up like, oh yeah, this was the most memorable of them
None of
all?
them are officially sanctioned matches.
Yeah.
Or any of that. It's all street altercations I had as a young teen, early 20s.
Okay.
Whether it involved fucking hearing gunshots down an alley or like, it's all that shit that what I call the primal part, right?
Right.
That and like I was one of those insecure young kids growing up in the outskirts of LA, and you know, you have that alpha drive to prove yourself.
Sure.
And so I mean, like, that's all. Like, I mean, yeah, I could jump into scary periods of my life and various parts of the world. Even as a traveling Jiu Jitsu instructor, I would say in the last 10 years, the scariest 4 hours of my life was in 2016, Baghdad International Airport.
Whoa.
Knowing that a QRF couldn't be there for at least 20 minutes or an hour, and ISIS was putting white dudes in orange jumpsuits and cutting their fucking heads off for $20,000.
Oh my God.
And there's a bunch of once young Iraqis now in their late teens and early 20s who grew up in American war, knowing that I'm probably worth $20,000.
Wow.
If they could bag me and stuff me in a fucking trunk.
Right.
And like that shit is like the scary shit where you realize your jiu-jitsu black belt probably ain't gonna fucking help much.
Yeah, there's a Professor Todd Fox who is on the show, and he's a Marine and is in the business of security. And you know, I asked him some of these questions, like the levels of violence that are out there in the world, you know, and the combat military violence for me, just in my imagination, sits as the most violent of everything, and then it works your way, you know, back down to
right. And even that, although like I've not been in combat, like that's a whole spectrum, right?
Without a doubt. Yes, without a doubt. Yeah.
Is it a loose exchange of small rounds at 500 meters, or is it fucking clearing rooms with dudes firing all over and explosives and ordnance and and the length of time and the state
There's
of
a
mind?
massive spectrum, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Massive
extraordinary.
spectrum, right?
When I talk to my friends who have been in those circumstances, it's among the things that I recognize. I really have no idea what they're talking about, right? Like I understand what they're saying, but I haven't had any emotional experience or practical experience that the chances of dying are so right in front of you,
Yeah.
and the need to be lethally violent is just a part of your, those are things. I don't care what I want to say to myself. Those things for me are basically informed by movies. I mean,
Yeah.
that's because getting into a fight in a street has very little in common, in my opinion, with the stories that I've heard. Well, um, just to be respectful of your time, I mean, one of the things that I'm curious about is any stories of you as an instructor bringing jujitsu to someone, and I'm sure you got thousands of them, but if there's in a similar way, one that pops to mind that like, this is the story I think of about jujitsu positively impacting
Well,
another
I'll
person.
say, one of my black belts, with Jimiko Elder, um, grew up in Watts in LA,
Yeah.
and grew up when the crack wars,
Mm,
which really fueled the Crips and Blood War. And I mean, being a kid and every week having a classmate
yeah.
get shot, right? And he's got a great story
Hmm.
uh, of how through luck and the help of other adults that cared,
Yeah.
he got out of it, went to Harvard, jiu-jitsu black belt, phenomenal
Wow.
instructor,
Wow.
and all that, right? I mean, there's all kinds of stories how, and he helps a lot of underprivileged
Nice.
kids, a lot of them that their parents might be locked up or like,
Yeah.
and I mean, but changing lives, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But jujitsu is a piece of changing lives
Right. Right. Right.
and the community around it. And um, like I'm what almost any religious a person would call an atheist.
Okay.
But atheists themselves would call me an agnostic or even a mystic, right?
Okay.
Because like I believe so strongly in our genetic predisposition to the power of belief
Right. Yes. Okay.
and the necessity of narrative,
Right. Yes.
and
Yes.
that I recognize, I'm going to call it spirituality, right?
Sure.
Which is non-material. Like the spiritual in a Taoist sense literally means non-material.
Right. Yes.
It's the
Right.
yang to the yin to the yang. It's the opposite of material, is spiritual. And I think what religions do is they materialize spirituality, therefore missing the entire point,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And the same thing that if you get all spiritual hooty fluty and all of a sudden you think that, yeah, well, I
Well,
mean, I don't want,
it goes back to what you were saying earlier, right? Like, what if we had a plague? Would YouTube be able to convey jujitsu knowledge? But
yeah,
what I, having followed you, and I got a chance to talk to Chris Burns and Clay Cox and Scott Burr, like, I haven't ever trained with any of you, but I'm of the mind when I listen to you guys talk about invisible jujitsu, the non-material invisible jujitsu seems to be the highest expression of jujitsu, which to me, from a spiritual perspective, is interesting, right? That what you can't
yeah, I would
see,
say
what you can only feel in a certain sense.
it's like Aikido, except it works.
Right. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
my joke.
Yeah. 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 I get it.
But kind of like Aikido, the philosophy of Aikido is the highest expression
Right.
of martial arts, right? And that's kind of what we are chasing. And the thing is, you're not going to live long enough
Hmm.
to learn everything the hard way or to make all the mistakes.
Right.
This is an art, right? And it's a science.
Right.
And but jujitsu is kind of like calculus. It takes a while, and you have to learn some a bunch of arithmetic and algebra first.
Right. Right.
And too many people want to jump right into the calculus.
Yeah.
And occasionally you have a phenom
Sure.
who's just great at arithmetic, who could almost bypass the algebra and go right into calculus.
Yeah.
And then everybody thinks that, oh, that's the way to do it. Whereas maybe if you had somebody along the way to prevent you from doing all the dumb shit.
Right.
But then when you're young, are you ready to learn that shit? It's like for most white belts and even a lot of blue belts, you're going to get more out of a private with a purple belt than you are with like me with a bunch of stripes and A's or Hickson. Like, because that purple belt's closer to what it
Sure.
was like to not know how to do it
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like there's obviously boxes and boxes to the whole thing. And I think the key, especially when you want to keep growing as a former athletic black belt, and you want to keep growing, is you really have to go back to chasing the art and the essence and get into what is the spirit of
Right. Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Very good. Well, the last question I'll ask you, if should you
Yeah.
choose to answer it, is if you're going to pick a superhero name as a jiu-jitsu black belt. Do you got any superhero names that come to mind?
Well, one of the things that I used to say when I would charm a date, including my wife, is some few the people out there are heroes. The jiu-jitsu will make you a superhero. That's what I used to say.
Okay,
But
very
no,
good.
I always I love all those like intellectual games. I like asking, people out there, if you could choose between these superpowers,
Right.
flying, invisibility, strength,
Sure.
like all these, like which would you pick, and then what would you do with them?
Right.
And that's where, for me, I get to a person's morals and ethics.
Very good.
And if the first thing they say, which is what most do, is do something for yourself. That's what most people think. But I used to think about this as a kid all the time.
Okay.
And would I do things for me? Yeah, I would. But like, what kind of got me out of the whole superhero genre is to have those powers. They use them so weakly and so shittily. Think of the good you could do.
Right. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I think almost all good spiritual movements,
Right.
which all religions come from some spiritual movement or experience.
Right.
It's all about you get out of self
Right.
and serve others.
Yes.
Right? So the good superhero models are all about self-sacrifice. That is the hero.
Right. Yes.
Right? That's the hero's journey.
Exactly.
You begin, you are on a path all about you. You're humbled.
Right.
You realize it's in you now, and then you give of yourself and risk and sacrifice for others, right? And that's kind of like the good jiu-jitsu coach's journey.
Without a doubt. Yes. It's you think you're the star of the show, and as you go along, I just had my first grandchild, and
oh Jesus,
yes, so wonderful. And she's about 5 months old, and it's all it's cracked up to be being a grandpa as far as I'm concerned. And I go by Spartacus in my grandpa name, by the way. That's that's what this
very cool. Yeah,
this little baby will but it is a affirmation of what you just said. Like the further along I go, the more you know, my story is a smaller and smaller part of my story. You know, my kids and now my grandkids, those are the stars of my life. And,
Yeah,
you know, mine is, I feel vital and interested in, you know, as you said, when you're in your 20s, if I could only have two of me so I could have this experience and that experience.
yeah, but
I
it's all about you,
but
right?
my antidote for that is that got to make it a long time. See if I can live long enough to get at least a taste of the different things that I'm interested in. But it's only to be, you know, a better person for those around me more than it is the collection of the experiences. So,
100%.
well, listen, you were very generous to spend time with me. You know, perhaps there'll be another time you'll come back and talk some more, which I would love. But thank you very
Absolutely,
much
sir.
for doing this.
All right, I sign off. Goodbye,
Okay.
guys.